Thanks for joining us for the next installment of Manchester Tech Journey. So I'm Michael Collins, Director of IO Associates for the Manchester office. One of the reasons I really wanted to do this was to give people in the tech industry a platform to talk about themselves and talk about their journey, because one of the things I've learned is that there's no real sort of linear path. So a really good opportunity for other people to discover how you can get into tech and be successful. So thanks for joining us today, Elle. I don't know if you want to start off with a bit of introducing yourself.
Yeah, cool. So this still feels very weird to say, but I am the founder of Soloist Social, and chief soloist. And yeah, I have a really weird journey into tech. So I can see why you got me in for this session. And yeah, I'm from the Northwest, even though my accent doesn't necessarily sound like it, but I am from Halifax, West Yorkshire, so just outside of Manchester. So yeah, I spent my whole life around you.
No, amazing. Well, thanks for joining us. I'm really looking forward to hearing about your journey. So I didn't know if you want to start us off talking about sort of the brand new current company that you're working with, and a bit around that.
Yeah, so I founded Soloist Social just under 2 months ago now, and it was a little bit of a kind of thing that came out of having conversations with recruiters. I'd just taken voluntary redundancy, and a lot of the conversations were, why don't you just do your own thing? You kind of do everything. You do the strategy, the delivery, the people, the culture side, the tech side of things. Why aren't you doing your own thing? And I was like, I just don't have any ideas. Like, I don't know what I want to do. And then one night I went to a gig in Halifax at the Peace Hall, and I was going by myself. And I'm really good at doing things by myself. And I realized that my friends were all like, I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that. And I was like, there's something here. There's something about what I do and how I form my friendships as a solo adult. To try and kind of help replicate that and help give people access to friendships. And I did a little bit of research, and loneliness is an epidemic right now. It's huge. And so much so there's a government strategy around it. You know it's real if there's a government strategy about something. And there was a wild survey that GovUK did in 2023 that 85% of adults experienced loneliness in the last 12 months. And 44% of those reported feeling chronically lonely. And I started to think about like why that was. And I love tech. I work in tech now, and it's a big part of who I am and what I do. And I genuinely see how great it can be for people and how it can bring people together. But it has to be done in the right way. So Soloist Social has come from that, and it's a platform that connects people through activities and events rather than swiping left or right on people's faces and judging other people. You don't see the other people. People actually form connections much more naturally when they're doing something.
Yeah.
And it's a platform for people to become friends in a really low stakes way. You don't have to walk out of your first event and be best friends instantly or anything like that, even though that's what I would do. But like a lot of people can't do that, right? And there are so many opportunities out there to go to events, but you have to already know what you like, and you already have to know kind of where you want to be and what you want to be doing. So we're using agentic AI and data and machine learning to actually do data scraping and event scraping in the local area and give people options and like actually have interactions with that user to find out like their comfort level and what kind of things they would like, and start actually pushing events to them. And then bringing a group of people that are doing something completely by themselves together. And there's something kind of unique and like fun about that as well. Everyone being bad at something. It's not about performance,
Yeah.
right? It's about just turning up and doing. And we form friendships through that. Like the friendships I've made as an adult have been through doing activities like cycling or swimming or triathlon or, you know, all of these kind of very forefront things now. Like running has become a very like social activity now. But not everybody wants to be active, right? Not everybody's got the thing of, I want to go running. And it's, you know, it's giving a platform for people that want to do something creative or even just go for a movie night. They're not things that are necessarily social, but they are something that people can do together, and people don't want to go alone. So it's just giving people the opportunity in a really low stakes way to find connection and meet people in real life. And it's using AI for good to do that.
No, that's amazing. That's it's something I wish I probably knew about a couple of years ago when I moved to Manchester. I think that in even cities like Manchester, there's so many people who move up for work or move up alone, and it is difficult to go out and meet people, especially if you haven't got that impetus to be active. I know there's loads of run clubs and stuff, and I looked at that and I didn't want to go and join a
It's
rugby.
not everyone's cup of
No,
tea, right? Yeah,
no.
absolutely.
Okay. And then I think just to start off then, so what was your sort of intro into tech? 'Cause I know it's an interesting journey, and there's a lot of sort of squiggly lines into where you are now.
You could say that, yeah. I started my career as a flight attendant for Virgin Atlantic. So I flew all around the world doing long haul for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
So it was a big gap year in my life. A 10-year gap year flying around the world, having the best time of my life. And I genuinely did. But it taught me so much about the world, right? I'm from this tiny little village in Halifax, West Yorkshire. It's a very small place. Everybody knows everybody, and quite a lot of people never leave. My parents lived in the same house I lived in the same house all my life, and my parents grew up in that village. And I needed to get out. Like, I very much had that feeling of I need to go and see the world and explore, and I did. So started flying for them and headed out to all these amazing destinations, met loads of wonderful people, and got to interact with just a whole plethora of individuals in different working backgrounds, especially when you're like stood at the upper class bar chatting to people that are business owners, or you're flying out to New York and back with the same people. So they're literally just going for 24 hours. And you kind of get to know different worlds and different people, and you start experiencing the world a little bit differently. And Virgin's one of those companies that everybody knows is really great for people, right?
Yeah.
But they're also really good at innovation. They're one of the smaller airlines in the world, and that means they can adapt really quickly to kind of changing needs and patterns, and they're really fast at innovation. So there's lots of technical stuff going on there, and getting involved in their technical projects and their transformation over the years just gave me a bit of an insight in how to do things properly and how to do things really well. And then COVID hit, obviously. So no one in the aviation industry had a job at that point, as everybody's very well aware. So, and that was tough. That was the first time in my adult life where I'd spent more than 2 weeks in my own bed. And that's genuinely for sure. Like, it was the biggest change, and it was a big shift for a lot of us that were used to kind of being almost nomadic in lifestyle. But I kind of walked out realizing I have all of this product knowledge. I have all of this kind of digital knowledge just from being in that environment and working with those teams at Virgin to help the customer journey side of things, that I knew I could do something with it. But I genuinely thought, well, my CV just says I'm a trolley dolly, right? So what am I going to do with that? Like, who's going to want me? Like, I just know how to chat to people. And actually, it turns out that's exactly what people need. And a little bit of knowledge around agile and the kind of working area I'd been in. And I applied for an apprenticeship, first of all, because I genuinely didn't think I would get a job,
Yeah.
right? So I was going back to square one.
And what was the
within
apprenticeship in?
Project management.
Okay.
And I applied, and actually when I applied, they said, oh, we've got a role actually in this space. I think you can actually do the role, not the apprenticeship. So I ended up going into there. It was a safe transformation at the time, and very few of their people actually understood agile whatsoever. And that was my bread and butter. That's how it worked. And the aviation industry, and definitely cabin crew, I think people don't realize is that team is an incredibly high performing team. It's seamless. And they meet 20 minutes before that flight. You never fly with the same crew.
Yeah.
So you get very good at forming teams really quickly and becoming a performing team really, really quickly as well. And it's such an underrated superpower to know how to do that and how to bring a team together and operate like nobody knows that you've just met. And you're going to spend the next 7 days with these people. So they become your family within the first 20 minutes. And it's a really interesting thing because you're dealing with so much so quickly together. That's what most companies in software, especially now we're in this data and AI, rapidly changing world. You have to be able to form those teams quickly, become really high performing fast, and replicate that as quickly as possible as well across your company and business. So weirdly, it became a bit of a superpower to be able to explain that and to be able to explain what that secret sauce is the aviation industry has around its human factors planning, which is all about human psychology and how you work together as a team, and start implementing that across tech organizations to actually help performing teams. So weirdly, it worked really well. And I worked with a consultant in my first role, and that was my first real kind of foray into it when he moved over into a permanent role, he asked me to go with him.
Okay, amazing. And where was that?
So we went to Perceptive, which is was a break off of the technical part of Excel. So it was at the time it was post-COVID, like in that COVID zone of everyone creating vaccines. So they are a tech clinical trials platform.
Yeah.
And it's really intense technology. Like I had no idea about clinical trials before I went in there. And there's lots of incredibly intelligent people that know how to do the good stuff. And I spent some time really trying to understand that dynamic and how clinical trials worked and supply chains worked and understanding the kind of technical environment. And I didn't have any deep technical knowledge at that point. And I'm going in to create a platform in one of the most complex industries in the world, very, very highly regulated. So I had to learn fast, and I love that kind of side of it as well. But the magic bit I brought was the people side. So they've got all these incredibly intelligent people, but they have no idea how to work together. And not in a negative way. It's just that they've been isolated in their journeys through education, and you're kind of praised as an individual as you go through your journey. So bringing that together, really kind of and understanding how people's minds worked in that way was really kind of useful for me to actually help those teams get together and make good things.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really underrated skill, being able to understand different people. I always call stakeholder management now, but just being able to say what you've had when working for Virgin of being thrust into a team, but also not just speaking to the team, but the customers, and then being able to be a little bit of a social chameleon, but also be able to influence things and then work in that high performance environment.
And you're so switched on all the time. Safety is paramount, right? You're on an airplane, you're in a really odd environment, right? You're literally in a pressurized tin can with no escape for the next 14 hours with a load of people. You're tired. Everybody's tired. Everybody's cranky. Everybody's got something to complain about or look forward to. That's the thing. So it's a really interesting environment to it's pressure cooking all of your skills very quickly.
And there's expectation.
Is it huge expectations? And everybody wants a seamless, nice day, right? Everybody wants that, but it rarely ever is. And it changes, and every single day is different. So you get very used to that kind of dynamic very quickly. And that's something you can bring into a very fast-paced environment, where people think things are fast-paced in the kind of corporate world. Is very different from being in an operational world. So anyone that's been in the military or the services or the NHS, anything like that, will understand from an operational perspective. It is heavy, it is fast, and you are having to adapt all the time. And it's a bit of an interesting thing to bring that into the tech world, where things actually are a little bit calmer than what I'm used to. So, but it gave me a chance to sit back and understand the dynamics of how a lot of people work in this industry as well.
And I do think as well, the tech world is a lot better now, but it needs to be open. People from, they say, military backgrounds, high performance sports backgrounds, even sort of hospitality backgrounds, or working in a field where you're sort of high pressurized, customer facing, have to be pretty adaptable, as opposed to say going down that route of, which no disrespect to, but going down the route of education straight into work. Then I think you can have a real diverse group of ideas and backgrounds to be able to deliver better quality.
That's what we mean by diversity, right? We're not just talking about specific racial profiles or the LGBTQ community. We're absolutely not just mentioning that. We're talking about people's life experiences, people from different socioeconomic backgrounds, people that are experiencing life differently and what they can bring to the table. And more so, we're going to come into that human-centric environment as we go into low-code tooling and kind of that vibe coding environment with AI. It's going to become more and more around the human interaction and how people's perspectives play into technology, and how we actually utilize technology to bring people together rather than the other way around. So I think we're going to start to see a big shift in the way we operate with tech over the next year or so. And I think it's already starting to happen, to be honest, where organizations need to really start to think about strategically how they're going to use AI to help bring people together, and how they're going to actually hire differently, which is kind of on your side as well, of culturally and creatively hire, because deep technical skills are going to become less necessary. We're still going to need them, absolutely, but we're not going to need as many of them. And we're going to need more of that kind of outside the box thinking and many hats kind of environment.
Yeah, I think people with different life experiences are going to be able to understand what a customer would want more, I suppose. I recently did a bit of work with the EY Foundation.
Yeah.
So they're targeting children or not children, young people, sorry, from particular socioeconomic backgrounds. So people who are eligible for free school meals, and being able to provide them with a platform of bringing them into the EY offices, giving them loads of like mentors, showing them different routes to market. 'Cause a lot of these people wouldn't have known there is that route into tech.
Yeah.
Because when you went from Virgin into working for a company for clinical trials, developing vaccines, what was sort of the biggest challenges then? Because
I mean, I think it was a personal challenge at first. It's like, personality types were very different to what I was used to. I was used to quite like openly bubbly, very chatty people, and all of a sudden I had some quite shy people that were working fully remotely at that point as well, and adapting to that environment. And trying to bring people out of their shells and really get them to kind of like talk to me and learn, like help me learn as well on that journey. And I kind of break down a barrier in that way as well with them, because I needed to figure out how this world operated. It was a completely different environment to what I was used to. And it was a very intense environment as well. And there was a lot of pressure on people. And I needed to understand why they were all there and what it was that they actually needed to achieve to feel happy. And I knew that if I could get them to a point where they were having a little bit of fun and they were feeling happy in their environment, then I could probably work with them to do almost anything. And like, I did that by opening myself up and being vulnerable straight from the off and saying, I have no idea what randomization looks like, or like how this kind of clinical trials world works. Well, I don't understand technology. Teach me. And it's interesting when they start to do that and I can ask the stupid questions in the room, how many people can kind of open up a little bit more and give their perspectives and put it in. So it's a really interesting environment to switch into for me. And that is challenging on a personal level, but it's also challenging for them because they're adapting to something completely new and someone completely new. And they're used to doing things in a very like project manager, being managed kind of environment. And that switch actually to empowering people to make their own decisions isn't as easy as people think. You need to enable that. And that takes time to do. It's not like an overnight switch, like, oh, we're all just an agile team all of a sudden. That doesn't happen like that. It's not realistic. You actually have to work with people to get them on board, and you have to work within their parameters to start with.
Yeah.
It's a slow shift. And then you give people that kind of understanding that I don't know it, so you need to know it for me. And that's when they kind of start to thrive in their own space. And it's that understanding that I found was missing, that people didn't understand that they had the opportunity to have a voice and like be the one owning decisions.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't do it for them all of a sudden.
And I suppose like the showing that vulnerability and the honesty, like I'm assuming they'd much rather someone ask the stupid question and want to know the answer and show a genuine curiosity than someone who goes in pretending to know.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you do get a lot of that in the tech industry of people with the perception that they know what they're talking about, when actually just be honest and go, how do I know this? Because there's a lot of very, very clever people. There's a lot to learn in tech.
Yeah.
I don't know who knows everything. So like,
no, and it's changing so fast. And that, I think that's the thing. And they kind of come on that learning journey with you at that point. And I've never met anyone where where I've gone, I need some help or help me understand that, where they've been like, no. Like everyone genuinely, it's a human nature thing that people want to help each other understand and learn and see perspectives from their side. So it's just that distinctly human element that needs to happen. And I think that's the thing that will survive way beyond AI integrations into companies, is that deeply humanistic thing. And learning is going to be like the biggest thing that comes out of this, isn't it? So.
And then sort of fast forwarding slightly, I know we touched on the very start of them, but obviously now founder of a company. I know you said it's still weird, so the more I say it, the more you get this
imposter syndrome.
Yeah. What's been the sort of the biggest learns from going into the corporate world, in the corporate tech world, to now obviously sort of founding your company, which has all happened very, very quickly?
It has all happened very quickly. I mean, I had a stint in consulting in the middle of that as well, which definitely throws you into that messy middle of figuring out operations, products, people, design, everything you can think of. And you have to learn and understand very quickly and just try to get answers. So the biggest thing is accepting when I don't know something and having to go and find people that can help me with that as well. I know I'm pretty terrible at the financial planning side of my business right now. And the biggest thing I've done is found mentors in that space and investment managers and people that really understand the kind of startup world in that respect. And it's not something I'm comfortable with, and it gives me the fear of life, like to go out and try and find money for my idea and believe in myself. So I think like that transition into those kind of things, I never had to think about these things before. And it's like given me the confidence. I think wearing a uniform, you're representing a company and you're representing a brand, and you're able to put that uniform on and be a different person for the day. It's like a superhero. Like you put on this beautiful red Vivienne Westwood suit, and I'm a certain personality. And I think I'm learning with my startup how to do that in my own way. And yes, it's my own clothes, it's my own face, and it's my own brand. But I'm understanding now what people need to see from my business and from me. So they're ultimately buying me as a founder and me as a business and my ideas and what I've got to do at the moment. But I have to separate the two to a certain extent to make sure that the company can survive without me, if that makes sense, in the future. So that's really hard to do, separate those emotions from your baby early on. But I also have to make sure I'm kind of giving my ideas and my background and all of the stuff I've learned from flying and being social and trying to understand those things to those investors and to the people that are kind of going to be using my application to understand, like, it's not as scary as it first seems. So it's a big transition. It feels like a lot more pressure, when you're working in an operational role, you just switch off at the end of the day and you leave the aeroplane behind. And your day is done and you've hopefully made a load of people happy and you've had a great day and you can switch off and go and sit on the beach with a Mai Tai and have a great time. It's not the same in the corporate world, and that's a hard adjustment to make.
How are you finding switching off then, if you're able to? I know we spoke.
Difficult.
Yeah, I know we spoke before. You said 1 minute you have 2 days of back-to-back work, and then you'll be sat there going, "What just happened?"
Yeah, it would just happen. And this is the first time I've ever been like unemployed, essentially. Like I've not been employed by another person. So it's incredibly difficult for me to not have a specific thing to wake up for and go. And I'm having to create that for myself. And I am neurodiverse, and I find that really, really difficult to find a routine and try and like do that for myself.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to kind of make up environments in my head of like, I need to do this for someone else right now. So I've got lots of people through the consulting world and through companies I've worked for before that I'm bouncing ideas off constantly. It isn't just one person as a founder. You need an army of people to tell you when your ideas are shit. Like, to be brutally honest with you. And I've got the gift that I've made those friendships throughout my career that I can literally turn around to people and say, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Like, be brutal. And it's been really interesting because I am the biggest self-doubter. I have all the confidence on camera. I am very good at holding a pitch, but I'm like terrified inside and I'm anxious and I'm struggling all the time. And I need that validation from other people to know that my ideas are actually okay, because I will just tear my own ideas apart if I'm not careful. So it's been really good to kind of have those conversations with people with more experience than me. And I'm more than happy to say that they will be part of my journey the whole time. It is going to be an army of people to get this out there and people using it and it being a product that people love.
And you need cheerleaders, you need support. I think as much as you said there, like founders, because sometimes look like a very solo role, but I don't think you've got to be a very special person to be able to do it completely alone. And I know you touched on it then, mentioned about sort of being neurodiverse. How has that been within the sort of the tech industry? Obviously transitioning from, let's say, I've got a lot about versioning into tech, and it's very prevalent in this industry we work in. Obviously nowadays it's great that it's talked about a lot more, and there's a lot more support out there. And how has that been for that journey for you?
It's actually been quite liberating, I think. I think meeting more people like me helps me be more myself. So for a long time, I've been masking and playing that face and playing that perfect picture and playing that confidence card. And actually, I'm learning a lot more now to let the kind of slightly odd elements of myself out. And
But the elements that make you who you are, yeah.
the parts that are actually distinctly me. And I think it's been a bit of a revelation because it's nice to meet people that are on the same level as you. And it's funny when you get a few of us together, like the ideas just come like, it's like magic. I can't explain it. And it's nice because I understand with so much empathy where a lot of people in the industry come from when they are neurodiverse. That I can kind of map that stakeholder engagement a lot easier. I know when people don't want to interact in certain ways. I pick up on those little, very little signs very quickly, and I'll pull someone to one side and say, "Do you want me to do this instead? Because I've noticed you don't." And that kind of almost relief of some people that they don't have to publicly speak, or they don't have to challenge someone, which gives them that fear of rejection, or things like that. I'm happy to take the face of that. I'm used to putting on that uniform and being a face of a company. And I know I'm good at doing that. And I know where I can put a mask and it not affect me personally, to protect other people. And I think that's a really important job of someone in leadership, is understanding when you don't want to force someone into a situation they don't want to be in. Um, and it's a very distinct pattern for neurodiverse people to feel that intense rejection and that intense fear of failure. So however we can protect that is really, really important.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things I love about working in that tech industry is there's a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds, and there's a lot of support as well if you find your right sort of tribe, or you're in the sort of the right group. And then you touched on it then, so being in these sort of leadership roles and being able to run projects, how have you found that sort of journey from being sort of maybe a more individual contributor or being part of the team to actually having to step up and be that leader?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it because I don't think leading is like what people seem to make it out. It's not like a head teacher, it's not like I don't know, it's not this pedestal that you need to sit on, right? It's about being part of the team and about being vulnerable and about like being on your own learning journey still. And like, yes, I might make those final decisions because somebody has to, but I want to know what other people's ideas and opinions are. And I feel like I come from a really good place for that, and in understanding that other people probably know things better than I do. I'm pretty aware that I am not the smartest person in the room. I didn't go through that education system like everybody else. I struggled with everything growing up. I was disruptive. I was problematic. And knowing that as a leader really actually helps you help your team. And your team are the people that are going to do all the good stuff and they're succeeding. You just have to get out of the way and help it happen. My job here is to fix things so that they can carry on. It's to solve problems and go out and absolutely find those problems to solve if I need to. Um, and I think that's the bit that I really like about being a leader, is that I like solving problems. And if it's helping other people, that's a massive
Yeah.
incentive for me.
Do you feel it came naturally to you then, or was
I think the flying industry massively helps that as well, because you're given that kind of level of authority from the beginning, like that people's safety, people's enjoyment, people's how do I say it? Like people's state of relaxation, especially on an airplane, is all in your hands. And you can make those decisions. And Virgin's incredibly empowering in that respect to give you that. So for me, I think it came naturally, but I also did all of the kind of crazy stuff as a kid, like brownies and all those kind of things. And I think we forget those early years development things of doing drama and dancing, and actually those creativity sides of life outside of education are so important for how it shapes you as an adult and what confidence it can give you, and those understandings of how you get things done.
Yeah, I've always said, like, think as a kid, they need to be part of a team, a group. It doesn't have to be a sports team. It could be anything,
Yeah.
anything. As long as you're like doing something where you're interacting with people, you're failing, you're winning, you're speaking with people with different backgrounds. You see people come and go and that sort of thing. And I think it's so important for like the development, and then just on the leadership side of things. Like for me, it was very unnatural. I think I really struggled with it. I had a bit of imposter, well, loads of imposter for ages. I didn't want to be the leader. I felt like I was just resistant to it, and I didn't want people to see me as that, because I want to be one of them still. And I think, as you said, it is about sort of showing those vulnerability, because people do look to you, so you have to have the highest of standards. And when you sort of when you do that, it can be really powerful, being able to help people come on that journey.
Yeah. And the more you Yeah, so it doesn't matter where I've been plugged in at the very lowest level of businesses as a consultant, and you can still find a power in leadership from there as well. So wherever you're at, if you're at a team level, how you operate within that team and gain trust from those people is a form of leadership. You don't need a title to do that. You can thrive in those environments and become a leader in your own space. And as long as you're solving problems for people, that is the core of leadership and like helping people kind of succeed and carry on forward. So you can do it from wherever you're at. And I think leadership often gets that kind of vision of you need someone strong and at the forefront and doing everything for you, but it's the quiet leaders at the back that are the ones that are actually doing all of the work.
And I think it's being able to show, being able to emotionally support your team as well for the good times, for the bad times, and then being available, being present. I think that's a big quality for people as well, to have those strong, as you said, it doesn't need to be beating the chest and like like the sort of football captain where they're like running, dragging everyone out with them. But and I think that's what's great about the tech industry, is that there's loads of these people who are quietly leading and being and amazing at it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've mixed that up a little bit in hierarchies and things, and pushing certain engineers that actually should be able to grow within their like IC space,
Yeah.
rather than giving them line management responsibilities to get like more impressive in their role titles and things like that. Um, Leave the people side of things to people that are actually good at people, and that want to do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's the kind of thing we need to separate out a lot more, and the industry's not quite there with yet. Like,
Yeah, it blows my mind that you get like these people are the best developer, they put them to senior developer, and then all of a sudden they're the best in their team, so they put them as a leader because they're the one everyone looks to, the one doing code reviews, and then they're like, it's 10 years down the line, they're a development manager, not doing any code, but they lost the passion of what they did as a hobby when they were a kid. And because they been pushed on arenas, there's a lot of companies now who've got principal developers, or they've got these management positions, but they don't have to follow that step all of the time, because the best developers, using the developers as an example, aren't always the best managers. And
they don't want to a lot of the time as well. And I think that's the thing, is like understanding what people actually want to do and working within that environment rather than forcing people into a set structure. And I think some of the biggest tech houses in the world have got this right. They've got a lot of ICs that are at the very top level. And they leave the people side of things to the people, right? And I think that's a distinction that a lot of large companies haven't yet got on board with. There's still very much that control structure needed in place of people understanding their roles and what they do. And I think especially as we're moving into the age of AI, people have to be more many hats and very much open to doing different roles and understanding how things work differently. Because we're not, like I said, we're not going to have those deep technical skills needed as much. We're going to need kind of that broader aspect of people where they can bring innovation and they can bring thoughts and they can bring their experience into things. So forcing people into these hierarchies is going to become more and more problematic.
No, I 100% agree. And do you have any advice for someone looking to sort of be in a similar position to yourself, and sort of anything you feel you've learned it might be beneficial for someone who's looking at this now going, I'm working for Virgin, or something similar. I'm in an industry where I wouldn't even have a clue where to start getting into tech, where so you can draw from your experiences.
Just start talking to people is the first thing. Like, network is the most valuable thing you can have. Like, recruiters are incredible people to start with as well. Yeah. No, they are. Like, they are genuinely some of the most well-networked people. They've made friends with people all over. That's part of your role, right, as a recruiter. So they're incredible people to just meet other people and get contacts and say, like, I want to learn about this. And they go, oh, I know someone over here. I'll get you in touch with them. And those kind of like connective tissue type people that can actually hook you up to people are the ones you need to find. So if you're not in the industry, one of the first places to reach out is probably to a recruiter that's in the industry and say, look, I don't have the experience here right now, but can you introduce me to someone that might be up for mentoring or talking me through things? And it's finding those connections, those people to just talk through their experiences through podcasts, things like that.
Yeah.
But don't be afraid to do your own research and go in there by yourself. Everybody doesn't know what they're doing at the beginning. As this fallacy thing, lots of people don't come out of university knowing exactly what they're doing. And actually, the university system's a little bit broken for tech at the moment, because it still does that individual contributor kind of style of development rather than team development. And that's not accurate to how we operate in a tech world outside. So everybody is kind of starting from the same place. And the more real world experience you've got right now, the more key that's going to become. So if you're in a retail company or something like that, maybe see if you can get involved in some of the technical projects that retail firm is working on. or work within the environment that you're in. If you're at university, like go and see if you can sit in on some of the other projects that they're working on in the tech departments. You can actually access tech from whatever company and whatever position you're in now. Every single industry has a technical function.
Yeah.
Like tech is the core basis of most industry now. So do that. Like look inside your circle and where you're at. Connect up with recruiters outside of it, and just generally start to talk to people and start to do your own research and find the bits that make you unique and that you can bring to the table. Your experience in retail would be amazing in a retail tech team.
Yeah.
And if you want to learn to code, absolutely go ahead and do it. It is becoming less prevalent for
Vibe
people who
coding.
need to. Vibe coding is a big thing, and just try it. I think that is the other side of it, right? Up until about 4 weeks ago, my SQL skills were like, okay. Now I'm like bossing through like QA. I'm literally reading through lines of code. I'm double checking everything. I'm making sure it's doing what I need it to do. I'm testing cycles, and like I didn't know how to do any of this before. There's so much out there now that you can access and use. Just go and do it, and a lot of it is free. And if you go and try those things, you're going to learn so much in the process. Just try and build something, and if it breaks, cool, learn from it, go again. And that is a key thing. You'll start to learn of when to throw something in the bin because you've gone too far in the mess. Start again. And that's the kind of joy of software development at the moment, is that it's so experimental, and especially the vibe coding era is so experimental. But if you've got ideas, then you can absolutely work in tech.
Yeah.
People need ideas and open-mindedness to how things can kind of grow and what the world needs right now. We don't necessarily need more technical folk.
It's not a closed industry. It's so open. So it's open for anyone who's got I think the main thing is the passion, the energy, and the desire to learn.
Yeah, I think the main thing is, if you're a leader in the tech space right now, is to start looking outside your box. Do not be, I mean, we've got a great tech pipeline here in Manchester, right? We've got the big universities, they're amazing people that are coming out of there. But look for the kids at university that actually had to have a job as well and worked in a bar and started building those social skills, because actually some of those like elements of their life and that what they're bringing to the table are probably going to be more valuable to you as an industry than their core technical skills going forward. So it's about looking outside of what those people have got and looking at your team and genuinely spotting what you're missing. Like you realize you've got a lot of people from a university background. Maybe you want to try and find someone that's built their own thing on the side, like just coded and made games from when they were 15 or something. Because they'll bring a completely different perspective to your team. They might be a little bit of a disruptor. They might be a little bit of a diva, but they're the people you actually want.
Yeah.
Because they will help you get things done and change things.
Yeah, so going into something I'm absolutely obsessed with, like Manchester, the Northwest, the tech industry, I'm just really keen to understand like how you've seen sort of Manchester and the Northwest grow over the last sort of few years when you've been sort of involved in the tech industry. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm relatively new to Manchester as a tech hub, for sure, but it's quite an exciting scene to be part of right now, especially as like a startup founder right now. I think it's a really interesting place. You've got a really big mix of the big conglomerates, the big industries here, and those startups and scale-ups kind of actually teaming up and being creative together. It's a bit different to London in that London's quite an intense environment to be part of. It's hard to find your community and find your place there. Whereas here, you've still very much got that community aspect. It's a little bit smaller. You can find your people, you can find what you need, and you can find different industries that kind of help you out with what you need as a big company by working with a smaller one.
Yeah.
There's so many startups happening and so many scale-ups happening in the city, that you're finding those partnerships happening. And it's like this really interesting pipeline of people that you're kind of creating, coming out of universities, but also from the kind of areas around it that have chosen to move out of the cities and live more of a country life,
Yeah.
like myself. Um, you're still close enough to everything. It's so accessible. You've got Liverpool and Leeds on the doorstep, and they are in their own rights becoming a great creative hotspot of for technology. So you're getting all of these kind of like little pockets of genius coming up and working with these big experienced industries, and they're working together so well because the communities that are based around the LGBT community here is so strong. And even just going out, like everybody's really friendly and northern. Like there's no other way to explain it, but you can walk down the street and still have a chat to someone. You can sit in a coffee shop and just have a conversation with people, and that atmosphere kind of lends itself really nicely into this really interesting dynamic of creativity in the city. So you're starting to see these partnerships happening, and I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, it feels like, so I'm reasonably new to Manchester as well. I moved up a year and a half, nearly 2 years ago, and it feels like there's such a buzz around the city. And as much as it's established as a big company, it doesn't feel like you've missed the boat. It feels like you're just at the start of something special, and it's growing. And there's obviously amazing companies like yourself being sort of brought up in the city, and is so connected, and everyone wants to help each other. It's not like, oh no, we do this, we do this. It feels like there's a lot of support, because yes, everyone wants to do well personally, everyone wants their business to do well, but part of it is everyone wants Manchester to do well as well. And if they're helping someone else out, then it's only going to help the city and the environment that we're in.
Yeah, and you naturally, with a place that's got a better cost of living, you're naturally going to get different types of people choosing to live here. You've got much more long-term sustainability, right? People are going to want to stay here. You've got so many options to live in and outside of Manchester within really commutable distance, that you're going to get some more of that extra diversity of thought and diversity of types of people that want to stay. And it's that long-term sustainability that I think some of the big cities miss, because it's an intense environment to be in for a long time, and lots of people only want to be in London for a couple of years and then out. And you find here, actually, people stay a bit longer because it's a bit of an easier city to live in. You can still have a house in the city. And there are these out or outside of it as well. And like, it's not just built on high rises and small apartments and, this kind of very intense way of living, or having to live with other people as well. So you can kind of find your own space here a lot easier. And that naturally leads into that amazing creativity. And it is a city of culture. It is very much a culturally diverse place. Like, there's music here, there's arts here, and it's thriving. And you're seeing lots of different great coffee shops opening up. But, and these are becoming their own little hubs. They're like micro hubs of people that are, meeting up together to go for drinks or for coffee or, running clubs and things like that.
Have you been to Campfield yet? Have you seen that?
No.
I'll send you. It's a bit. It's placed near Castlefield, like a new co-working space, but they're doing like 100 days free.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, I might have a go at that.
And it's really good. There's so many really cool people there. It's buzzing at the minute. So
and you've got these like angel networks here and stuff like that, like, that are just thriving on bringing founders and startups to this area, and it's just a buzz. It is really fun.
yeah, nice. And then from a tech perspective, then, was there anything in particular that excites you for sort of the future? Obviously, you're in the weeds a bit in a minute. You're trying to learn as much as possible. Is there anything you've come across? Well, do you know what? This is something I'm really excited about.
Yeah, I think this whole like city atmosphere of AI in Manchester, like, it seems ready for it. Like, it's not so big that it can't change in this area. And I think people are really on board with innovation and just trying to get something new out there. So I think that really does excite me as a Northwest hub type thing. And it is, again, that community-led kind of decisions. And I think we're going to start seeing almost a displacement of high-performing technology companies being more, I don't know, decentralized into smaller startups that are working together, and they're almost these like little groups of people. I'm already finding founders that we're like helping each other out, and we're raising each other up, and we're not necessarily wanting anything from each other, but we know how hard it is, and we know together we're going to do something better than one of these bigger companies can. So you're sort of finding these little like networks, spider networks of people coming together. So I think that's really exciting, and that decentralization with everything getting more accessible. AI is massively helping. Data is massively helping. And I think you've got much more of a platform here for clean data. Those bigger companies in London are really going to struggle to kind of build out their data pools in a way that AI will work effectively. So here, with that kind of startup atmosphere, you've got choice, you've got options to kind of be like, actually, I want my data to be around this specific environment, and this is the outcome I want. So I'm going to use this part of that company as well. So it's like a lot more freedom to kind of choose where you want to be.
Nice. And then yeah, once I find in Manchester, once you start networking,
Yeah.
it just evolves from there, because I said everyone seems to know everyone, everyone's trying to help each other, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, like, and all the leaders I've met in this space are just so positive, and they love what I'm doing right now, which is really nice to hear. But I've not found where when I've been in large organizations and corporates, I found a glass ceiling. There is one, and especially as a woman, I've really felt that, and I felt like I hit a point where I wasn't believed in enough to go far enough. At that point, my face didn't fit quite as well as everybody else's. And I accepted that and acknowledged that, and I was more than happy to go along with the system for a little while. But I know now by doing this and starting up by myself that to change a system, we have to break it completely and we have to break away from it and do our own thing. And I think more women will find joy and happiness in creating startups. And it's not just women, it's anyone from a diverse background that's really feeling that kind of like, I don't fit in this large corporation system anymore. I think we'll see that happening. I think we'll see that decentralization of people actually going out and going, I'm sick of playing by your rules. I'm going to play by my own. I'm going to be a diva and I'm going to do something good in this space. So I think Manchester's a really great place for that, because you've got that sense of real community where people can find each other. And that is a big part of doing something by yourself, is actually having that network around you to help.
And there's so many amazing women in Manchester, champion like Naomi Timberley, Amelia Bampton, are people I come across, and they're inspiring. They're like people who are so passionate about Manchester, passionate about the tech industry, always willing to help people, and always sort of networking and speaking to other people. It's
And so many allies, like guys in leadership that really want to see women succeed and know that within their own systems it's not going to work. So even though I'm not working for them, they're wanting to help me out. Like, it's great to see.
yeah, amazing. And the last question that I like to ask is, what's your sort of tech prediction for the next year? Because it's ever evolving. I think if you asked this 2 years ago, no one would have seen how far AI has advanced. But yeah, what was your sort of own personal tech prediction from what you've seen?
I think we are going to see that shift to human centricity, like where people are going to have to create tech that actually helps people connect in real life. And we bring that human aspect together and that learning aspect far closer together than using it for creating cute videos and things like that. I think we're in that kind of like fad phase of AI and machine learning at the moment that hasn't quite made it. And I think we will start seeing a shift towards tech for good and bringing people together and not replacing jobs anymore, but actually enhancing people's experiences and making things easier. And I think people will settle into that. What do we actually want AI to do for us? Because it's a really expensive thing and it's a really expensive implementation for a company to do. And if it hasn't got good purpose behind it and it isn't doing things for their people or their sustainability long term, and I think at the moment it's very much a fad and just get it done. And I think that shift will happen where people are actually doing it much more sustainably.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much. I sound like I talked for ages, but no, I really appreciate it. And so hopefully some people can find some benefit of understanding a bit more on your journey.
Yeah, thanks.
Cool.